Pranamesh and Ashish for joining as a panelist. What we'll do in this is like initially we'll quickly get started with a short description of what is Colty, and then we'll go to each one of you to give a quick introduction about yourself, and we'll jump right into overview of grad school in each country, and then answer some of the questions which were already posted in the survey, and finally open up the floor for any other questions folks might have. We'll try to address as many questions as possible, but if one of you have other questions, feel free to reach out to me as well. You can always contact me if you have any other information you're looking for. So in terms of Colty, like Robin and I started this company, what we realized was that both of us went through the whole grad school, and we found out that there was a lack of information where people can easily get out more info about what kind of courses they can go after, what kind of professors they need to work with, and also just peer networking, like if they had some questions, they can ask their peers as well. So we started this app called Colty. It stands for College Ties. If you create an account over here, you can click on different professors' profile and see what they are doing. You can also kind of look at their education, and if they choose to upload videos, you can watch them as well, and their recent publication. The publication is important because then you can see how active the professor is. We keep on updating these publications, and if they have an open position and an RA position, you can find that out as well. The other thing is when you make this profile and put in your keywords, you start getting these matches. We have a database of around 45,000 faculty. So as soon as you create your profile, some of you have asked the question, how can I find a person working in a specific area? This at least will let you know that there is a person working in a specific area. They may not be an active Colty user, but if they are in the database, you'll get a match. You can also send chat messages once among the people who are already on the app, and then communicate with them in that way. As soon as you download the app, I send you a message, so you can always be in touch with me if you have any questions. This is the place where you might see reels made by professors and other folks. The important point is that you can also make your reels. So one of the things which we say is that CVE is very two-dimensional. We don't know what you're doing. So this way you can show what cool stuff you have done. So when we are hiring people or when we are bringing them for PhD, we can view profile that is created by them. So this is an actual profile on Colty. We can find out which area the person is interested in and reach out to them as well. So it works both ways, not just one-way street. And it is good to have as much information as possible on the app. So if you can either directly download the app using the QR code, or and fill out the information, or if you want to just upload your CV, we can create your account on the back end. In that case, you can just say colty.com /jumpstart, and we'll get an account created and reach out to you. In the other important thing is, if you do create a account on Colty and we find out about some opportunity like scholarship opportunity or internship opportunity, or even people looking for a specific assistantship, we send out a notification based on what you have said, whether you are interested in PhD or masters, and going through as well. Once you have joined masters or PhD, we kind of keep an update on opportunities which are available. So that is about Colty. We would love for all of you to join our app, but let's dive in now to our panel. So what I'll do is I'll start with the left to right as it's shown in the screen, and maybe panelists can say their name, their current position, which school they are faculty at right now, but also talk a little bit about where did they go for their studies in grad school and undergrad. So Pranamesh, do you want to get the ball rolling?
Sure. Hello everyone. So I'm Pranamesh. I'm a assistant professor in the Civil Engineering Department of IIT Kanpur in India. I joined this institute in 2019, and before that, my PhD study was in Iowa State University only, which I did from 2015, and my master's degree was from IIT Kanpur, where I'm currently right now a faculty here, and my undergrad was in what we currently call as IIST Shibpur. At that time, it was used to call as PSU Shibpur. So throughout the time, it was in the civil engineering department only where I did my studies.
Ashish, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. So my name is Ashish Bhaskar. I'm a professor at Queensland University of Technology, which is like the southeast of Australia. So it's located in the city of Brisbane, and basically it's a place where we're going to have the next Olympics. So I joined QT in 2011. I'm working in the area of traffic and transport engineering. And before joining QUT, I did my PhD from École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, or EPFL, in Switzerland. I was there for 6 years. And prior to that, I did my master's from the University of Tokyo in Japan. And I did my undergrad from IIT Kanpur in India in civil engineering. Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome, Ashish.
Yes.
Robin.
Hi, my name is Robin Anand, and I'm an associate professor in the Department of Chemistry at Iowa State University. I did a postdoc at the University of Washington in Seattle, and my PhD at the University of Texas at Austin. I did my undergraduate degree at a pretty small school in Indiana.
Hi, thank you all for joining the panel. I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Anuj Sharma. I'm a professor at Iowa State University. I have an appointment with civil engineering, as well as I'm affiliated faculty with electrical and computer engineering, as well as computer science department. My grad school was, I did my PhD from Purdue, and I did my master's from Texas A&M. I did my undergrad from NIT Rourkela. So it's great to see you all join here. When I was coming for my master's, we did not have any idea. Like I personally did not have any ideas. There might be a lot of folks who had a certain idea where they want to go. And in that scenario, I had just randomly picked up schools to apply. The whole goal here is that if you choose the school or advisor or the area of specialization wrong, it does affect your whole career trajectory. So that's why we are organizing this. All these faculty members who have joined our panel are really busy folks. So them joining this session to help out just shows that how passionate they are about helping students as well. So I think there are a lot of good faculty and a lot of helpful faculty, but we really do appreciate specifically all the panelists to join this session to help out the new generation of grad students who are coming. So with this, I'll dive in. What I'll do is maybe like we can start with Ashish, because Ashish, you have a lot of experience with now in Australia, but also Japan and Europe. So if you can just talk about these key points when people are applying for grad school in different countries. What is the overall, like I know that admission process can have a lot of small things and forms to fill out, but like just in general, what is a typical admission process? Where are the most, what time of year are the most number of people hired? Like when do they have to apply? What are the different kind of scholarships kind of a deal? And do they have to apply for them? Typical duration of PhD and masters in the countries, and what are the expectations from grad students for PhD and masters? And then if there is any other key factor they should be considering for for joining grad school, and like after graduation, if they need a specific kind of visa, or what are the prospects that way. So Ashish, do you want to get started, and maybe like you can start with Australia and compare like if what are the big differences you saw between Europe and Japan compared to in Australia?
Sure, definitely I can start with that. So I can start with Australia first, and perhaps start with the PhD program. Like we have different programs for grad. Like we have a PhD, we have a master's by research as MPhil, or you can have a master's program primarily focusing on a specific, let's say, coursework. So in case of PhD program, like obviously people coming from overseas would like to have a scholarship. It's very hard to survive in a foreign country without having a scholarship. And generally in Australia, our scholarship round starts somewhere in the month of July. So it's our intake is from actually January. So for example, at TUT, so we have a specific deadlines for international students to apply for scholarship. So we have like individual institutes have their own annual scholarship round. For example, at TUT, our annual scholarship round is starting in the month of July. The application process starts in the month of April, and by July they should have the complete application submitted to TUT, and then the application is processed by a committee. By November, they come to know about whether they have got the annual scholarship or not. And if they have been successful, they should join between January to July next year. So idea is that they should join before the start of the next scholarship round. And it's actually highly competitive. I have seen the quality of applications have improved dramatically since last 10 years. So the number of applications we are getting is really great. Like earlier, we have students, even let's say, so we have a GPA on the scale of 7. So it's not like on the scale of 10. On the scale of 7, we used to get, like, say, good applications of let's say 5.8 or 6 were good. Now we're getting really very, very high, high GPA. But GPA is not the only factor in this whole scholarship process. So if I talk about the process, like, you have to first figure out where do you want to apply. So basically, which institute you want to apply, who are the faculty member with whom you have to really engage with. You actually approach to that faculty member. The faculty member interviews you, and basically you guys discuss about the common area of research. And as an applicant, you have to actually prepare a research proposal that has to be submitted as a part of the application process. Application process should also have your English, I would say, English language test requirements. So we don't have a GRE score, but you need to have a, like, for example, IELTS is one of the accepted scores, or TOEFL or PTE. So there are there are a couple of English language test requirements that you have to meet as an applicant from a non-English speaking country. And I believe most of the people here perhaps are from non-English speaking country, but like the requirements are well explained on the websites. So you basically submit a full application, and your actually proposed academic supervisor is going to make a recommendation for your application to the committee, in-house committee, for the annual scholarship round. But there are other scholarships also. For example, the supervisor might have the scholarship from industry, and then those scholarships are already advertised on the websites or on the LinkedIn channels and other sources. Those scholarships can be accessed, are available outside the scholarship round also. So you don't have to just wait for the scholarship round. Once, like for example, last year I had a scholarship from industry. I advertised it, and I got a number of applicants, and we hired the applicant from there. So that's actually another source of scholarship. Plus there are multiple other scholarships also, but I think these two are the main ones. So admission process is actually highly competitive. What you have to look for in that, like for example, your application should be quite genuine. So when you approach to a supervisor, it should be like it should not just writing a generic email to all the supervisors. So it should be a genuine interest in that process, and you basically set up a case why you should be doing a PhD or MPhil at that place, and basically the focus on your I would say track record is actually very important there. What was the second question you have? I think I'm talking a lot. So typical duration of a PhD or MS degree. So a typical duration in Australia is quite different from one in India. We have a 3 years PhD degree, It's a total research intensive. You don't have to do too much of a coursework, unlike the other countries. So that 3 years, that can be extended to 3.5 years. So generally, you get an offer for 3 years, extended to with the possibility of extension to 3.5 years. That's for PhD, and for MS, it is 1.5 years to 2 years. So that's the general duration. What are the expectations from the graduate student? I mean, expectations are obviously like you should be self-motivated, self-driven to actually perform that research. Definitely, you should have a good time management because, as I said, it's a 3 years PhD program. So you should respect the deadlines and actually meet all the requirements. You should have good research ethics. Just so that's actually one of the important requirements there. And obviously, like all the PhDs and masters, you should be disseminating your research into the right place. Like, for example, the publications are really important, and actually quality work is important. If your funding is from an industry project, expectations are that you are meeting with the industry quite regularly and also talking to them. So it all depends on what actually project you are actually working on. Other key factors to consider when choosing a graduate program. I mean, this is, I think, an actually important aspect whenever you are looking for a graduate program. As Anuj was saying, like at our time, like even at my time, I just joined Japan because I got the scholarship from there. So, are you able to hear me? I think my screen is hanged. Anuj, can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
We can hear you. We can hear you, Ashish. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So basically, your key factor that you should definitely consider is you'll be spending the next, let's say, for a PhD, next 3 to 4 years of your time, or perhaps even beyond that, with actually a supervisor. So look at what areas that really attracts you. What is the core area of research that you want to work on, and that's actually really important. During an interview with the supervisor, it's not just that supervisor interviewing you; you're also interviewing the supervisor. Do you really want to work in that research group? Do your homework. Figure out what are the areas where that team is working on, and is your interest aligns with that one. That's actually very important. Obviously, scholarship is the most important thing. Without funding, you cannot do anything. But apart from scholarship, it's also about the reputation of that group, the discipline, the university where actually you are applying. What are the research facilities that are available? So if you want to work, for example, if you want to work on, let's say, transport big data, but that group is not working on, that group is totally working on a theoretical research, but they don't have availability of the transport big data, then basically that might not be the right group for you to actually work on. So if you figure out what facilities are actually available, perhaps what are the industry connections or what are the future postdoc opportunities, those things should also be considered for, because when you finish your PhD, you might like to basically extend, like you might like to also explore opportunities for actually postdoc with the group or perhaps with some other groups. So what industry connections they have is also useful to look at. But definitely, I mean, it is the group that with whom you're going to work is actually a really important thing that you should be looking at. Typical jobs after MS and PhD, last 2-3 students. I mean, definitely, like when you're coming abroad, you will also like to have further experience. And if I look back at TUT itself, like at a broader level of our transport students, it's like 50% have gone into academia, 50% have gone into, or maybe more than 50% have gone into industry. So industry values a lot these days research. So it's not like if you have done a PhD, you are overqualified. No, they do value. And in fact, if you want to, let's say, after finishing your, let's say, MS or PhD in Australia, if you've done a 2 years program, you are eligible for the, like, say, temporary visa, which is given to you for 3 to 4 years. And within that time period, you have to basically apply for the permanent residency to actually, live beyond that time period. And if you have done a PhD, you should definitely be able to meet all the entry requirements or all the points that are needed for the PR. Now, these things changes every year. So, but so far, almost all the students who have come to Australia and actually have actually worked with me from overseas, they have actually either applied for a PR or they have got job overseas. Like one of my PhD students is an academic in Switzerland. Other one has gone back to India. Third one is basically in UK. So I mean the opportunities are there, and definitely doing a 2 years program in Australia at least gives you enough points to actually apply for a temporary residency immediately, which gives you the work rights for next 2 to 3 years, and within that time period you actually look for the permanent residency. Yeah. I hope I have covered all the questions. So I'll let my
So
speak now.
actually, just a quick note. I was thinking that you can also say like if there is any big difference. So you talked about QUT in Australia, but if your experience with maybe Japan and your experience with
Yes.
Switzerland, any
Yeah.
big points of differences which they should know?
Yes.
Like you can just talk about the differences. Yeah.
I will talk about it definitely. Yeah. So I mean, like I would say after doing my undergrad, I got a scholarship from Japan, and that was one of the reasons why I actually moved to Japan, and it also attracted my interest because everybody was going to US. I thought about why not go and explore some other location, and Japan is definitely putting a lot in research. Like they give scholarships, and like you have I think Asian Development Bank scholarship, and you have a Japanese Monbushu scholarship that is given for both masters and PhD. So the big difference I see in terms of like Japan, Australia, or I'll come to Switzerland also. I think in terms of research wise, yes, Japan is doing actually quite good. The only challenge that you have to think of there is when you're going to a country like Japan or English speaking country from India. So unless you learn the language of that country, you will not have enough exposure to talk to the practitioners. So I'm talking from engineering aspect. So engineering is actually quite applied research or actually quite applied work that we do. So one thing which I really benefited, this is my own personal experience while coming to Australia, is the engagement that we had here with the practitioners, and English being a language, it really helped a lot compared to when I was in Europe or when I was in Japan. The engagement with the practitioners, at least in my area, was quite limited there because of the language barrier. I mean, but having said that, I mean, people are very good in learning the languages in Japanese and French or German, whatever, and they can definitely have a good engagement. So research-wise, I think all of them are equally competitive. Europe was awesome in terms of the funding and all those things. I mean, there's a lot of collaboration. Like when I was in Europe, I had an extended opportunity to actually collaborate not just within Switzerland, but also the other countries. And there's a lot of I would say European framework programs that directly supports research quality. Europe is well known for the quality research that they are doing in transport, whether it's a EPFL or TU Delft. So some of the top universities are there. So I think the opportunities are actually really great in actually all these countries. But yeah, one of the factors that you might like to think is the language, is the language barrier to engage with the practitioners.
Awesome. Thank you. Pranamesh, do you want to take India next?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So maybe the admission process. Like first, I would like to say that in India, at least in IIT Kanpur, the admission process happens much more centrally. So like let's say transportation group. So each specialization or each department will have a selection committee, which basically, so if you are applying, you have to first select a specialization within a department, or if it does not have a specialization, then directly apply to the department. And then there is selection committee, which first, like you have to basically come either for online or offline written test or interview. And then based on that, the committee will basically decide whether you are getting an admission or not, and there is typically a merit list, and accordingly you are getting like the selection going in. After that, you basically get like to choose your supervisor. So like typically here our admission process starts in like March, and the interviews or written tests are held in like May. And the students are usually joining in like July end. So once you join in July end or early August, typically in the month of October or so, you choose your supervisor. So you talk with each of your supervisor in your group, and then mutually based on the things you basically decide. So a lot of the times it's like if you are at least like we can say from our group kind of a thing also, like we try to have like if you're choosing like a particular supervisor, you get it. But there are other departments where it happens like right at the time when you are basically getting admission, you have to say like this is the supervisor you want to work with. And a lot of the times there are restrictions, like each supervisor will have like how many PhD students working with them. So that depends on like the department, what requirements that they have. So it is extremely important that if you really want to be working with a specific supervisor, you get to know whether the supervisor has a vacant positions available. And mostly it's not in terms of funding, but it's in terms of the students that the supervisor already has, and whether he or she is looking for any new students in their group at this point of time. Scholarships, all students get these scholarships from the ministry, at least for the IITs that I'm talking about, these kind of institutes. So as you get your admission, you get like the scholarships. So over the recent years, maybe like students might have heard that there is an additional scholarship called PMRF, or Prime Minister Research Fellowship, which used to give like 80,000 per month scholarship, which hopefully will now be getting increased to 1 lakh per month, which is like highly quite a high scholarship to have if you're working in an Indian university where you have hardly not a lot to pay. In terms of how much you pay for your semester fees, and then like your basic foods and so, because also like these IITs are something like where you stay inside the campus. So you basically stay inside the hostels or the halls, and you basically pay for the food and everything like that. But usually if you're in the basic scholarship, you get to cover your expenses decently. If you are getting like a PMRF, then obviously you can have like handy amount of money in your hand also. The institutes will give you like also funding to travel like at least like one international conference and one national conference during your PhD degree. So the PMRS scholarship, just a little bit to add, most of the time it's towards the end of your like first semester or second semester, you basically apply. And then again, there is a committee which finally gets you through based on recommendation of the supervisor. It goes to the committee, and then they select whether you are getting a PMRF fellowship or not. It is again like highly competitive, and a lot of the times it depends on your prior, like let's say if you have a master's degree, then if you have like publications or things like that, and also like your CPI for, or your basically how much what's your CPI for your first semester. That most of the time maybe takes a guiding criteria whether you are eligible for that higher scholarship or not. Duration of PhDs, what typically it again depends on the supervisor, the department, and the specific work that you are doing. Typically it tends to be like 5 years at least, not less than that, because the number of things that you have to do, like you have to give a comprehensive exam, which is a written exam. A lot of the times when you are finishing up your coursework, in terms of the coursework, you need to do at least like 1 full semester of coursework, but it can get extended. Like in our group, we have like, they have to do like 1.5 semester of coursework. That's the thing. So typically like 5 years if you're working for a PhD. Masters will be like 2 years with a thesis. So first year you basically do your entire coursework, and then the second year you do your thesis. Expectation of the graduate students, research, Ashish already told, like the research, the standard expectations that any faculty or supervisor will have. Apart from that, you need to do a TA work or teaching assistantship for the scholarship thing. If you are a PMRF, then typically you have to go to another local college or a university outside of the campus and teach there for maybe like once a week for like 2 to 3 hours or so. Otherwise, it's a teaching assistantship where you have to engage in a course and then help the you're basically like faculty on helping in their coursework. Key factors to consider, it's definitely like I feel like PhD is such a long-term commitment in terms of not just your PhD degree, but the later things that you want to do, even for your master's. So therefore, like choose effectively like you want to work on this area, and accordingly have like if you're really specific on like this particular area that you want to work on, contact with your supervisor, like whom you want to work with, and get to know with them. Jobs after masters, it's quite varied. We have like campusing based on that. A lot of the times, like these days, even like people like, let's say, go into like data analytics kind of a jobs also. Like quite a few of my students have gone to like those kind of a jobs. So it's not just you have to work on the core engineering jobs on which you are basically like working. PhDs, I would say like compared to what I have seen like in US or so, the amount of opportunities a little lesser in industry compared to academia. So therefore, a lot of the times the students are going for a postdoc in abroad, or otherwise they are joining as a faculty in some universities or so. So that's a standard kind of the things.
Pranamesh, compared to like any big differences between your experience in US versus India, anything you might want to point out?
Yeah, so I would say like here, one of the thing is that since the funding is through the basically the government and not through the supervisor specifically, so you can choose basically like what area you want to work on. You do not have to limit based on the funding opportunities, but the requirements takes a longer time in terms of, as I said, the comprehensive exam and then what we call as a state-of-the-art seminar or SOTA. So therefore, the duration tends to be a little bit on a longer side compared to maybe the US studies that we have seen. But the number of coursework that you have to do, I have seen like US, you have a lot more coursework to do compared to like in India. But it depends on if you are working on a new field, if you're joining in, if you're getting your PhD in a thing which is completely different from what you had done like previously, then you should do additional coursework to make yourself comfortable with the thing that you want to work on.
Awesome, thanks. Robin, do you want to take the US question, maybe highlight the differences quickly, and then we can jump on the question and answers.
Sure, I'll give a brief overview. So in general, I start getting contacted by students sometime in July or August, students who are looking for admission into a PhD program. And those students are reaching out because they know that it's very important to choose an individual advisor for PhD work. And then in terms of deadlines, schools in the US start to have PhD program application deadlines in October. And I think the latest ones are in January. And it's usually the more competitive schools that have the earlier application deadlines. I put some scholarship opportunities in the chat for those of you, especially those of you who are interested in master's programs. For in general, PhD programs that involve a research component with with a few exceptions, typically involve an assistantship if you do secure a position in a research group with a faculty member. Master's programs are about 2 years long. PhD programs are on the order of 4 to 6 years long. And I think the expectation from graduate students is to learn how to become an independent researcher if it's a PhD program. And oftentimes that's being done alongside a teaching assistantship position, or if you have an assistantship that involves working for a faculty member that is not your primary research advisor, then it could involve doing some kind of work related to research in another field. I think some key factors to consider when choosing a grad program, you want to make sure that you're in a positive and supportive environment, one where you see students who are going on to get the kind of jobs that you're hoping to get. And so an important thing that you can do is talk to some current students in the program. Typically, those students are actually pretty happy to give you at least 20 minutes of their time to tell you about what their experience has been. So I think that's the high level stuff. If there are any specific questions, I'd be happy to follow up.
So next, what I'm going to do is I'll stop sharing. I think I can go over the questions, and then and any one of you can take a shot at answering it. And if there's a big difference between the countries, we can answer it a little bit more in deep. So the first set of questions are more regarding the application process. We covered a lot of it while we were talking about it. The biggest thing which is in the application process question is in terms of ideal time for preparing the documents, application documents, and shortlisting professors. So I think we can hear from Robin maybe first, and then if from Ashish and Pranamesh next. So Robin.
Can you repeat the question?
The ideal time for preparing and the documents and shortlisting professors.
Yeah, so I think, students really, a lot of students start in the summer before they plan to apply, just so that they can have some time to get recommendation letters together, statement of purpose prepared for an application, and, do the research on what kind of programs are out there and which faculty they might want to work with if they're planning for a PhD. Actually, preparing the application itself, probably August, September, October timeframe is the ideal time to do it.
I just wanted to add that if you are really looking to change anything for your application, you start in your third year. So because once you are, or even earlier, once you are very close to the deadline, you are just presenting what you have done so far. So there is no change of improvement or anything like that. But Ashish or Pranamesh, in maybe Ashish can go next. When is the typical time where student starts shortlisting professors?
Yeah, I think like I said, if the deadline is, let's say, 31st of July, you should definitely be looking for 6 months to 1 year ahead, because you need to figure out whom you have to apply. So you need to have some discussion with that supervisor, prepare a research proposal as part of the application. And for Australia, actually, because of the Australian government requirement, where students from certain countries have to go through some I would say genuine temporary entry check process. So they have to apply through an agent in India. For example, the Indian students have to apply for an agent in India. They cannot directly apply to the Australian university straight away. It's just because they try to shortlist, or the agents try to officially check whether the students are the genuine students who wants to come and study or do PhD or masters overseas. That's actually one of the important factor that you should definitely consider in, that you should take into account 15 to 20 days as a buffer time before the deadlines to approach to the agent and submit the application through the agent for your respective program. So definitely 6 months, I would say, is a minimum that you should definitely start early. Yeah.
Pranamesh, anything about you in terms of when do people start talking to you about their?
Yeah, I think if you're really wanting to have your supervisor kind of a selection, maybe since if I'm considering an Indian student, it does not need to be a lot earlier. Maybe since the application is in March or so, it can be January or December or so. You can start contacting the supervisor and then get to see their profile. But as I said, it also then depends on, you can also, as it was highlighted, you can talk to other group members which are in the same lab, and then you can have the things. But typically, maybe it can be January, February also, like if you're planning for like March.
Awesome. Moving on to just a quick question, Pranamish. It has been going in my mind. The GATE is still required to apply for PhDs in India, or that requirement has been?
No, so if you have a master's degree, so you do not need a GATE exam. And in fact, like if you are going for a direct PhD, if you're already in what we call a CFTI, centrally funded technical universities, institutes, then also you do not need a GATE. You only need a GATE if you are applying for a direct PhD from a non-CFTI university. Otherwise, there's no GATE required.
Okay, that makes sense. So moving on to the next broad theme of questions about scholarships. About standardized testing and academic profile. The trade-off between GPA versus if they have a poor GPA, what do they have to do? And then if there is a requirement in terms of, I think most of the colleges now are moving away from GREs and things like that, but just a thought about that as well. So maybe Ashish, you can start first about QUT, the trade-off between different factors you consider.
Yeah. So definitely, like, I mean, GPA is one of the factors for academics to even open your CV properly. But I think GPA is not the main factor. It is more about your active research experience and the expertise that you bring in, or whatever you have learned so far. So one thing that you should definitely focus on is whatever you are doing. I mean, how best you can sell it. So as a part of your undergrad, or maybe if you're doing a master's in India, what expertise you have developed. And if you're doing a master's, definitely publication is very important. If you want to do a PhD, publish as you're doing a master's. Or if you're doing an undergrad, your final year thesis, how best you can actually really work on it. So what you can do with that final year thesis, how you can really sell that part to your supervisor. That's actually important. Like, yes, supervisor will have a look on, will discuss with you, but at the end of the day, it is a committee who makes that decision, and different schools have different, I would say, criteria for assessment. And in fact, yes, GPA is one of them, but is not the most important factor. Research experience is actually equally important in terms of where you have published, or you have published some work. Have you written some paper as a lead author? Let it be a conference publication, but have you written the paper as a lead author? There actually plays an important role also, which shows that you have a research experience, or if you have some professional experience. So it's just about the impact of the work you have done. You have to articulate it properly into your application, and tell it properly to your supervisor, whomsoever you expect, so that he or she can make a case for you in that case. So I think this is, I think more it's your experience in research, or your professional experience with some impact actually plays important role. Some of the technical skills that you might have developed, maybe you have done some certificates. Let's say, for example, you've done some certificates on data visualization, which might be an important tool for actually one of the industry projects that actually they are looking for. So that also adds value. So GPA is not the only important factor, but definitely if you are an undergrad student, please do not ignore your GPA. GPA is something that will help people to open your CV at least.
Yeah, and I think similar things apply to US. I think it's constant across board. Robin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I thought, Ashish, you gave a really great answer. The only thing I have to add is I've seen cases where the GPA of a student is not very high, but the graduate selection committee takes the time to look at the transcript and see which courses had, good grades and which ones had poor grades. And if the core courses that are related to your field of study for graduate school are strong, then they tend to overlook some lower grades in courses that are less closely related to your chosen field of study for grad school.
Yeah. So moving on, in terms of scholarship, I think we have answered quite a bit of questions which were asked. But one of the questions specifically in US, some of the students were asking is, are the funding cuts affecting the scholarships? So Robin, do you want to take that one?
Well, I do think that I don't have a comment on scholarships, but I do think that the availability of assistantships is a lot lower because a lot of faculty have grants that have been impacted and therefore can't take as many students currently. Hopefully that changes over the next year.
So moving on to the professor outreach, like the biggest question folks are answering is twofold, and the first one I can answer easily. One is that how do I find professor which is working in specialized field? So you can definitely, there is a plugin for quality for me. You can definitely create your profile and see if there are professors there. I'll be upfront about it. Our tool is open for anyone to upload, like any faculty to join it, but most of the professors you are seeing right now are coming from a database, which is a US heavy database. So Ashish is on Colty as well. So you will definitely see his profile, but like if you're looking for other places, you still have to go the traditional route. Look at the top universities and people in that area using web. But if you are interested in the US, you can definitely build your profile on Colty and at least get some folks who are working in that area. One of the things is you might want to know your key words pretty good. So if you're looking for earthquake engineering and applications, you will have to put them as keywords. In terms of that, I'll throw it out is how do you effectively contact a professor, which is a good question. And as I said, these professors, 3 of these guys, if I had to get another time with them, I would have a tough time bringing all of them on board. So their time is very, very limited and pulled by several demands. So does anyone want to take a shot at it? How do you approach a professor?
Maybe I can start. I think definitely you should do the homework. That's the most important thing. I mean, if you write an email to a professor and it's a generic email, I mean, they will just ignore it. And so basically understand what the area the person is really working on, and your email should show a genuine interest, like you want to really work with that person. So do your homework, and if your interest aligns with that professor, naturally the email you will write will be a genuine email, and actually the professor will have a look on that.
I would say too, I think sometimes students do personalize emails that they send to me, but on occasion what they've done is copy and paste wording directly from my own research description. And I recognize that, and it means to me that they haven't really thought about it and that they don't have a genuine interest. So it's important to not just personalize it, but yeah, take that extra step and try to understand the research and describe how there's a fit between your interests and experience and what their group is doing.
The other thing I would say is network. Like when you go to conferences, if you do have a chance to go to a conference, or a lot of times there would be professors in your department who know professors. So I think if Pranamesh says that, hey, this is a good student, Anuj, do you have a position? It carries a lot more weight than if someone reaches out to me. It's not that it always happens, but we know a lot of professors, and if we know there's a good student and we don't have an opportunity, we might pass it on. That I'll say, Ashish, man, there's an amazing student. I cannot fund him right now. Do you have any opportunities? So that is another thing about, and this is the last plugin for Colty, but that's another thing is that if you reach out to a professor and if we know that someone else is looking for a person, we'll definitely forward that. Next, going to the next level, and I think we touched on this one a little bit, but I'll just bring it up once more and then probably open up the floor for general questions as well, is how do I choose which country to go and do my master's in? And I think Ashish, when he was discussing, brought a very important point, is a lot of these universities which we are talking about are in like top universities, most of them top 100 universities. So it's not that there is a lack of jobs and things like that. You'll get, there definitely can be. Like you should also look at what are the visa requirements in US, especially in after doing masters in certain areas. people might not get a job easily. So do talk to the grad students who have graduated from the same degree as you are planning to go after. So don't just trust a university advertisement that masters in business data analytics is the best thing and things like that. So reach out to a person who has done it recently and find out whether you are getting a job. After that, how difficult is it? And is that job really what your dream job is? At the end of the day, we are kind of means to an end. So you are not going to spend your life in the university unless you become a professor, but that's what you should look for. Any other thoughts, like Robin or Ashish or Pranamesh, like how to choose where? And the other last point was that if you want to work in India, or if you want to work in US, or if you want to end up working in QUT, it does help to get a I don't know about India. Sometimes like it is easier to go a degree outside, but other places it does help to get a degree from there. Any other thoughts?
I mean, the only thing I'll add, maybe it's a bit anecdotal, is that I've twice experienced having PhD students in my laboratory who, during the time they were working on their PhD, got married, and then they weren't able to bring their spouse to the US. And so, just depending on where you are in your life and plans, not just thinking about your own visa, but also thinking about, would you need to be able to support a dependent, is an important consideration.
Okay. All right, I think we'll save last 7 minutes for students to just ask the questions which we haven't answered so far. So if you would like to just raise your hand or directly turn on your video and ask a question, please feel free to do that now. Yes, Jan.
Good
Go
evening,
ahead.
sir and ma'am.
Good evening.
My question is, sir, what problem like when a student can face when he changes country and new people, new location? So like as a student, I'm just asking, sir.
Sure. I can tell you when I moved to US, it was nothing like India. The problem is that you have to cook your own food. You might not be used to discomfort. Like I didn't have scholarship, so no bed for me. I had to sleep on carpet. So all those things happen, but I think what carries you forward is if you do have passion to get the studies done. Those are minor inconveniences, and you are in part of a cohort. A lot of people are facing the same problem, so all of you face it together. Any other thoughts?
So one more
Hello,
thing,
sir.
sir, how you convince your parents? Like my parents are very much concerned about the thing, like how you will manage, and it's a new country, and
Everything is a new place. Like when I moved from UP to Rourkela, it was a new place. At the end of the day, your goal is that you can reach your maximum potential, essentially. So whatever leads to that is worth the risk, and there is a risk to reward association. If you stay in the location where you are, you might not be able to reach the highest potential. But if you think you can reach the highest potential to when in the place itself, then go for it. I think it's a bit existential question.
I think you want to find people who support you. So I've seen international students form groups, of friends that really do support each other, and they form new communities when they move here. And so it's not just you on your own trying to navigate.
I think Sudipta, you can go next. Sudipta Nath.
Good evening, sir. Sir, actually, I have one question. How to approach professors in foreign countries? How to write mail so that they can reply me?
It is very difficult. Even if you write the perfect mail, they may not reply you. But you can try. First thing is, like if you were a person who had a job position available, would you respond to all the applicants who send you an email? Think about it. Put yourself in the shoe of the person who is responding to the email. if you have a genuine question and you are genuinely interested, you can send out an email. Maybe even if they don't respond, they'll at least notice it. But there is no golden rule that this is the email you should send that they will respond.
Okay, sir.
Uh,
Okay.
Hello,
Actually, sir, I have
hello,
applied
ma'am.
so many, so that's why I asked you.
Yeah, and as I said, like I don't respond to 80% of the emails I receive. I'll be very frank about it. I may respond to a few of them. I now, after making Colty, I have started responding, hey, I'm not looking for any student. But before that, like there are so many coming to us every week. There are like 10, 15 coming to us. We are doing projects. So it becomes a little bit difficult. So put yourself in our shoes as well. But if you are drafting a genuine email, the likelihood is higher.
Okay,
I
sir.
know
Hello,
Sumit
ma'am.
had a question.
This is
Yes.
Sumit Kumar. Yes, sir. Actually, sir, I had applied to Iowa State University for fall 2025. Even I contacted that to some professor, and they replied me so that I applied there, but I got rejection from there. So I'm asking, are there any chance to get into Iowa State in spring 2026? Because that time I did not have a publication, but right now I got one publication. So
So in terms of admissions, usually, and you can again reach out to the professors. I'm not saying it might not be a good idea, but a lot less admissions happen in spring compared to fall. And probably Robin can talk about chemistry. I don't think you take any student in spring. Is there?
It's very rare. There are some cases where it's usually the case that there's a delay in a visa and then the student comes in spring. There's not really a spring application cycle.
Yeah. So that
actually,
would
I'm
be
from chemistry department also.
yeah. So that's your answer, Sumit. you probably like if you are from chemistry department. Um, two things is that one is that how different is your application within 3 months of rejection. So maybe it might be a better idea to wait.
I think the other thing I'll say is even if an individual faculty member wants to bring a student in, it's still in chemistry, it's still the decision of the graduate selection committee.
Yeah. There are a lot of hands. I'll take 2 more questions. And if your question is not answered, as I said, make a profile on Colty, send the question to me via message and I'll still respond to it. But I think Shravan had his hand up for a long time. Shravan.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. As a pre-final year student in biomedical engineering, I had a question regarding the spring, fall, and the summer intakes, and as to when would be a favorable time for me to start applying, and what exactly is the difference between each of the intakes in terms of competition and probability to get into a particular institute, preferably in the US or in Europe.
In US, I think fall is the biggest one where people are doing most of the intakes. There might be a few things going on here and there, depending if a professor really needs someone. But I would strongly recommend that go for fall because that's where the most amount of opportunities are available, both in terms of assistantship and admissions. I don't know, Ashish, maybe about Europe, you can answer that question.
Yeah, I think from a European perspective, it depends where you're applying, which country you're applying, and like a lot of funding is coming through the professor itself. So directly approach the professor and see if they have some active funding opportunities. So like check actually who are the professors working in the area where you want to work on, and write them an email regarding what opportunities they have.
Awesome. One last question before we'll have the panelist to let go the panelist. I can still hang around for another 4 or 5 minutes, but I don't want to waste other people's time. So Sudarshan, one last question from you, and then I can answer remaining questions.
Hi guys, how's it going? Am I audible?
Yes.
So, sir, I'm a senior year mechanical engineering student. Actually, I've been planning to do my master's in industrial engineering, focused in supply chain and manufacturing. So, which country, according to you guys, will be the best after like post study? I will get the job. The likelihood of getting job is maximum.
I think that's a very broad question. I think a lot of universities will be good. What I would say is again, look at the universities you are in top, say 50 or so. Find out from Colty which professors are specifically working in that specific area, and then reach out to the, even if you don't reach out to the grad students, some of the professors have their own website built where they tell you what their names of their grad student is, and then you can look at their LinkedIn profile or reach out to them. So at the end of the day, it is there is not a simple answer to that question. You have to do your research. Ashish, do you want to add anything else on that?
No, I think you have actually well covered one thing. Definitely, like you have to identify who are the academics working in that space, and I mean you can go to their website or even their Google Scholar and see what are the areas where they have recently published, and check the first author there. First author is generally their student, and try to find their LinkedIn profile and see where they're working,
Yeah.
and simply approach them, because those recent graduates must have got a job somewhere, and if you talk to them, they will definitely be able to give you some good advice.
Yeah. And in the app, if the profile is there, we do update their publication list, so you can get the publication list from there. All right. I think I'd like to thank all the panelists here again. Thank you so much, Pranamesh, Ashish, and Robin. I know you are all very busy, and taking time off your busy day and joining, and Robin, even in the early morning. Thank you so much. I'll hang around, so I'll answer a few more questions, but thank you for your time. Ashish and Pranamesh, you can go back to the game.
No, thanks, Anuj and Robin. I think this is this is really a very good initiative that you have taken, because this will definitely help students a lot in terms of where to apply. And I think even for me as an academic, I mean, we are always looking for the right talent. So if we are able to get some genuine applicants from here, that would definitely be helpful. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you, professors.
Thank you. Sudipta and Vaibhav, okay. Vaibhav, you had your hand up. I'll answer your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My question holds two questions. Actually, I'm in pre-final year in metallurgy in NIT
Okay.
Rourkela.
Okay.
So the question is, suppose if I emailed any professor and till I was waiting to get response, but at that time I applied to ask for another professor to do my further study,
Yeah.
and later I got responses from both. So
Okay.
how to deal with both situations?
Go to the best person. Like I think all the professors understand that you also have multiple options, and there is no hard feeling that way. So if someone is offering you scholarship, so go based on what your chances of succeeding in life is most.
So if the time is getting more and I'm not getting response, so what is the ideal time should I consider that it is got rejected response?
So I can tell you with my experience. So it is not basically an ideal time for me. What I do is sometimes I don't respond unless I have an opportunity in hand. Once I have that, I have to hire 2 more people, I'll go back and search through my inbox who all have reached out to me, and then send out an email to them. Hey, are you still interested, and so forth. So sometimes, although you are thinking that your email are just going to the trash, that's not the case. We just don't sometimes respond, but we do have a very good way of searching once we have an opportunity. So there is again, try your luck. If they are not reaching back to you, it's okay. I think we have.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Actually, one request. Actually,
Yes.
that since it is getting recorded, I think if I'm not wrong, those slides were not rolling actually during your presentation. So
Okay.
could you just scroll once so that it will be recorded there, and then you can refer to our students later also?
I'll send the slide deck to everyone. That's not a big deal. What I'll do is I'll everyone who has signed up, I have their email address, so I'll send it out. I'll send it to Isha as well, so if anyone else wants to get it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. I think there is Chandrasekhar who has his hand up.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I just wanted to know just what's considered as a decent CGPA for pursuing masters in USA for mechanical engineering. Like, there's a decent CGPA.
What do you have?
Sir, right now I'm about 7.9.
That's good. Like that's I think that's a decent enough GPA. You'll just have to build your case essentially in terms of what else you have got. So I think unless you can think of it as a red flag essentially. So we are looking that hey, if someone is really struggling, what might be the issue? But if someone is doing 75th percentile or 80th percentile, then we move on and start looking for other things. What are the internships and things like that a person might have done?
Okay, so sir, one more question. So like having some kind of provisional patent application does helps in getting a admission into the institution, or they don't just don't consider that kind of thing?
Everything is considered how you sell it. Basically you're trying to sell yourself. So if you had filed for a provisional patent and that came from a work you have done with someone, that shows that yeah, you are interested in research. So you might have to sell it in a way. The thing about provision is that a lot of people can just apply and get a provisional patent thing. So it is not that there is an application. What is important is that you work with someone to find something unique would be good. I think there is a hand BT21 CME Kostub.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Actually, I have a question regarding the things to include in the application. Currently, I'm in final year of chemical engineering, and I have a job in hand in research and development section of industry. And I have currently 2 publications in lining up, which can be published in soon in May. So, will the R&D role help me in my application, or I should exclude it from the application?
I don't think it would, like, unless you have an experience there, it doesn't matter.
I'll be planning for fall 26. So, will
You
that
will-
1 year experience?
Oh yeah. So if once you have if you have an experience there that you'll be working in that role, then it does matter. So if it's just role in hand, then it doesn't matter. But if you are going to spend 3 months there or 4 months there, you can put it in the job description that this is what I'll be working on. So that should be useful.
Okay, and how long should the ideal job experience be? Like, how many months I should work there to count it as a good job experience?
I would say I'll go with my thing. I had like 5-6 months, but I don't know whether it helped or not. It did help me learning how to code. So there are multiple benefits you can derive, but like anything less than 5-6 months is not as useful.
And should there I ask for a LOR from the employer?
No, not necessary. It depends. If you do have a LOR from employer, that's good because that just shows diversity. But if you are not if you are not in the system or have not built your network, it is not necessary. It would be good, but not necessary.
Also, the last question, like, what all people I should reach out for LORs, like my professors and all?
So the thing with LOR is that people who will be your champions and are easy to convince to write a letter which you will strongly like. If someone is going to write a generic letter, why involve them? That hey, he was a student in my class, got an A. That's not a good letter. If someone is willing to write, oh, he has worked with me, we have spent 3 months working on a problem, he had a lot of innovative skills, those are the letters you're looking for. So definitely you need a letter from one of your professors. But if other letters are coming from somewhere you did internship, or if you're this job, someone is writing a letter, that would be useful. Otherwise, you should see it as what will make your case stronger. So if you get one letter from a professor, one letter from somewhere you did internship, and one letter from your job, I think that will cover more bases.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I think Shravan had a question.
Yes, sir. I had another question regarding the impact GRE and TOEFL scores play on a master's application abroad. Because earlier this year I'd given both of them and I got a 310 on the GRE and a 112 on TOEFL. So I just want to know how much of an impact it plays, or how much chance does one with similar scores as myself have in their application?
Okay. Shravan, I did my GRE long time back, so I don't have the frame of reference. But what is the 310 out of? Like
340.
340 out of 500?
It's 310 out of 340 and two
310 out of
sections.
340. Okay. So that seems like a pretty good score. TOEFL, it is just a basic, like we don't consider it that much. Even a lot of people are moving away from GRE as well. They are using it as a cutoff. So I'll tell you about the admissions. How we do at Iowa State is that we, not at Iowa State, in transportation, civil engineering at Iowa State, is that we sometimes have like a baseline which we are looking for. Anyone who has better than that, we go for it. Most of the students who are coming from India have really good maths and analytics score. So we look for that, how decent is the written English, or something which shows that you can write papers. So that's what we are looking for. But your scores seem reasonable.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Shreya?
Good evening, sir. Sir, actually, I want to know, is it necessary to have a publication if I want to apply for direct PhD in ESL?
It's not necessarily, but it would definitely help. There are definitely programs will bring in direct PhDs, and then there are programs which will say that you like they'll bring you in, but you'll have to do a master's. Again, like it is not a necessary requirement. I have brought in people who didn't have a publication. Some of them might have had a conference publication, but then you have to make a case. How would you show that you have some research experience?
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ayush?
Sir, I wanted to ask one thing. Like, I mean, second year students. So when is the ideal time for me to give the GRE exam?
I think what I would do is I'll build my resume first. So if you are getting an opportunity to get an internship, do that. Make sure you do a good job there. I would say, like I personally gave my GRE somewhere in my. I was a little bit too late. I gave it in like fall of my fourth year. If you can do it in like spring of your third year, that will give you some confidence that, oh, I can start application process, because the application process for fall 2026 would, like, people have already started reaching out to me. So people have started planning right now. And then if you delay it for like August or September, you are just delaying your application process. So I would say latest you should get it done by, say, July of your third year summer break.
Okay, sir. Sir, there is another thing I wanted to, like, in the current time, do GREs are really necessary if I wanted to apply in Europe?
I think Ashish was saying that they are not looking for GRE anymore, at least in QT. There are a lot of US universities who might not look for GRE. I am not very sure about Europe. You might this might vary from school to school, so you might have to look at their website. All right, Sudipta, this is the last question, folks. Reach out to me via chat as well, but
Hello,
let
sir.
me answer Sudipta. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Sorry for interrupting. Actually, sir, I have one question. Actually, sir, I have done my BTech in civil engineering, and I am now doing MTech in mining engineering. So, sir, is there any problem what I will face Actually, I am now going to interdisciplinary branch, and I am interested to do PhD from Australia. So, sir,
Okay.
any
You will have to find a research group which strongly aligns with your research. Essentially, that's the thing. It's
actually, sir,
like,
I am now doing one working on paper. It will
okay,
just I will publish recently, and it will from geo mining condition. Like I
okay.
am using my mine waste to utilize ground improvement technique.
So I think it would help because you will have some unique skills. You just would have to find a right match. People who are doing research in that area. So that might be an ideal scenario. It actually would make your case a little bit unique. And if you can find the person who is looking for such skills, you will have an advantage over other folks. So don't consider it as a restriction.
So,
Consider
sir, what
it.
is the opportunity in Australia
So I
in
personally
mining?
don't know all the people in Australia, so that would be tough for me to answer that which professor to apply for in Australia. That you might have to do research yourself. If you want to look at US professors, you can create a account in Colty and you might get some hits there. But again,
So actually, I have done one research where I will apply.
okay.
So that's why I'm asking you. So like one Monash University, QUT, then TU, Fairwell. I have gone through it and so the professors
So
find their
like,
interest.
do you know which professors who do work in the area you are interested in?
No, so
If,
I didn't find it.
so yeah.
Any I have not
I
matching any
personally don't
kind
know
of.
any professors who do that, but send me a message specifically telling me your keywords and everything. I can search the database and respond back. But again, I don't have any answer from top of my head that
Okay,
who.
sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. I think Ayush, this is absolute
Yes,
last
sir.
question I'll answer. I'll have to go
Yes.
to my office as well, but let's get done here. Ayush, tell me.
Okay, sir. Sir, there is last questions like,
Mm.
do I still consider the US as applying for graduate school? Like the current administration has cut funding for NSF, IDO labs, and all the NLL labs. And I
Yeah,
actually
go
applied
ahead.
to some of them for internships now, and they are saying that they don't have. They actually wanted to take me as an intern, but they don't have the sufficient funding to fund my.
It is a tough situation, Ayush. I'll be frank, but there are professors who will still bring in people. The number of people brought in would be lower, so I wouldn't say that don't apply. I would say just be ready that you might not get a assistantship, or the competition would get tougher. You should definitely explore other options as well, because the cuts which are being made are significant, and it can specifically impact certain areas. So my thought would be that go ahead with the application as usual, but also have a backup plan.
Okay, sir.
All right, folks. Thank you for your time, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Professor. That was a great and an insightful session which we had with you. So yeah, like it was really insightful for the prospective graduate students, I believe, and I believe Colty is going to help them through their career outcomes. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much, sir,
Yeah.
for helping our students.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Great day. Good.